This week's guest is Andrew Binney, Group Treasurer at SSE. Before we get into the full show, here are a few short clips that give you a flavour of what we covered all the way through from his time at Vodafone. Then he was at BT as the Group Treasury Director, and now Group Treasurer at SSE. So have a listen.
I think being challenged, but also being supported.
What does being challenged mean to you then?
So being challenged, being put in situations that you may not have felt comfortable choosing to be in that situation yourself.
Yeah.
So having someone, a manager, a boss, a leader that has got the confidence in you that they will put you in a situation that you may not feel you've got the experience to be able to deal with. So that's the challenge, and the support coming from, they help you prepare for that challenge, getting out your comfort zone. Yeah. And I think also having a leader that has the trust in you that you'll be able to, some people call it a gut feeling. Others call it, you've got some intuition, so you can work things out. So they trust that you'll work it out. There's guardrails around it, so you won't be in a situation where you'd be destroying value. You'd be in a situation to represent the organisation and then learn from it, build from it, and then continue to build your confidence. The missteps in careers can often be, I think we can all fall in, is sometimes taking a short-term view, taking a short-term view and maybe joining a company where your role may appear to be more senior, more impactful than potentially a more junior role in the company that you're with.
Yeah.
And that you need to take your risks in your career, but you need to be really confident that it will give you a platform, and the colleagues that you'll have will enhance your experience.
Welcome to this week's Treasury Career Corner podcast, where I interview Treasury professionals about their Treasury careers. Each and every week, I'll talk to treasurers about how they build their careers, where they are now, where they see both themselves and the Treasury profession going to next. Let's get on with the show. In this week's show, I'm joined by Andrew Binney, the Group Treasurer of SSE plc. SSE is a leading generator of renewables and flexible energy in the GB and Ireland markets, and one of the world's fastest growing electricity networks companies. They've got onshore, offshore wind farms, hydro. Well, in fact, I'll get Andrew to explain a little bit more about the business later on in the show, because he can cover it much more, particularly with some of the new projects that are coming up, infrastructure. And I know when we talked on our pre-call, there were some very exciting things happening at the company. But Andrew, I know you're very well rehearsed, which is great. We're going to go back to the beginning of your career, how you first started in finance and then, banking then, but then finance and treasury. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. So as you mentioned, my roots are really in high performance sport and an early career in financial markets and banking. Having studied business studies at University in Edinburgh, I spent a bit of time trying to be a professional rugby player, combining that with work in insurance. And that gave me a platform to join TSB, as it was then, on the graduate programme. And I was fortunate enough to get my first placement within the Treasury division based in Edinburgh. So that was the start of it all.
And you discovered Treasury then. What did it look like? Because obviously it's quite different to now, really, if you like. It's a good place to get stuck in with your roots.
Yeah, so given it was in banking, so it was very dynamic, it was very impactful, and part of my role, even at that early stage, was supporting the team, managing the bank's balance sheet, and then managing and supporting the treasury activities of Scottish corporates and financial institutions. So there was a broad range of activities that I was involved in. And really, the key thing, I think, was the insight into how financial markets operated.
And then what happened next? And obviously, you and I have discussed this, how the transition then to corporates and corporate treasury.
Yeah, so I think when I was on the bank side, meeting corporate treasurers, understanding how companies operated, I got a feeling that Treasury really being at the centre of strategic decision making So that was something that appealed to me and I wanted to pursue further.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Vodafone was expanding exponentially. And I think, looking back, 26 years, in 2000, in a way, Vodafone was like the NVIDIA of the day. Yeah. It had a market capitalization in excess of £300 million in 2000. Yeah. So this was a company expanding. So for someone with a Treasury background and Treasury career aspirations, it was an amazing opportunity to move from banking into corporate Treasury within Vodafone.
And as you say, can you, again, you and I know Vodafone very well. And as you say, at that time, it was number one of the FTSE, I think it was as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So talk us through your first role there and how did it then develop, or the move and stuff?
Yeah. So my first role was as a Treasury analyst, and my responsibilities were the cash management, liquidity management, some foreign exchange hedging, very sort of nuts and bolts, operational, starting to understand the business and the flows. And because there was such a lot of activity, responsibilities got allocated at quite an early stage in the career. So I soon became responsible for managing a $20 billion commercial paper program, large foreign currency flows, and the short-term banking relationships.
And for you as an analyst, that's sort of quite a lot of responsibility on relatively young shoulders. What was that like for you?
Partly it was exciting, it was challenging, but super fulfilling as well. And there was some great managers in Vodafone. The group treasurer at the time, a gentleman called Jerry Bacon, very influential on probably more than a dozen current treasurers or CFOs. Very high standards, but also very focused on developing the team.
Yeah.
To be able to operate, so probably exceeding what we all thought our own potential was. So the bar was high, the standards were high, but there was lots of support in there. So it was a great opportunity just to grab with both hands.
And so you start in that Treasury role, but I know that then you're given the opportunity to take on broader finance roles, which I think is interesting with the number of Treasury professionals I talk to, and corporate Treasury all the way through, and don't veer from that. But then later on they go, oh, I wish I'd done these other things, whereas you did that. Talk us through the steps there and how your career evolved at that stage.
Yeah, sure. Really, through expanding my capability, through the skills I built up in Treasury, because I had the opportunity to be executing.
Yeah.
If there was M&A activity within the Treasury, I'd be executing on the funding plan for it, the foreign exchange required for it, advising on the impact on the credit ratings, given the CFO a view of what the funding priorities could be. So Treasury had a big strategic impact, and having built up those skills through execution and built strong networks in the company, I was able to move from Treasury into the Vodafone mergers and acquisitions team as a mergers and acquisition executive, supporting on some very material processes, projects, and activities.
And when you're doing that role, again, I was just talking recently to Bert Jameson over at Ingersoll Rand, and he was talking about they've done 18 acquisitions in the past year alone, and the playbook and everything else. But you're in a different position doing the M&A stuff. What's your playbook for? You're part of this big corporate, but you're leading the transaction by this stage, or certainly playing the key role. When you're looking at things, how do you look at it with a Treasury lens or in general terms?
Yeah, I think it's great having the foundation of looking through a Treasury lens, which will be looking at its diligence, looking at the risks that need to be managed, looking at how the acquisition would be funded, looking at the appropriate cost of capital for the business plans, and being able to rationalize and articulate the challenges around valuation and bid strategy. But it also gives you some big eye-opener on the breadth of stakeholders, considerations, first order, second order, third order, political environment, regulatory environments, different agendas from parts of the company. So you have to become really aware of how people operate, how different people receive information, process information, and ultimately make decisions.
Yeah. And then you went from M&A, and then it's quite an unusual move in a way, to financial control, which is not something you don't often see that in a Treasury CV, resume, and things like that. What did that give you? And that was another big move.
Yeah. And great opportunities that Vodafone gives colleagues if they're willing to take a risk on their career, move outside their natural comfort zones. And that, again, it's another discipline a CFO requires in financial control. There's financial planning and analysis elements in that. There's decision support, and there's also building up a deeper awareness of accounting standards, governance, and controls as well. So, okay, it was just another aspect, another building block that I think is important in a career.
And did you enjoy it as much as the Treasury piece? Because I know Treasury then got you back, sort of thing. Or
I did enjoy it. Again, I was fortunate to be in a growth part of Vodafone at the time. When I was financial controller for Vodafone's businesses in India, Egypt, and Qatar, and the leadership team, which was led by Nick Reed, who subsequently went on to be Vodafone Group CFO and then Group CEO. So it was a very high quality team, and just getting that into emerging markets and things like Egypt, for example. I was financial controller when there were troubles in the Middle East. So it was quite, again, in that political regulatory environment, and it also gave me the opportunity to have my first non-exec board seat, where I was on the board of Vodafone Egypt, which was Vodafone was the majority shareholder, but 45% was owned by the state-controlled fixed line company. So again, there's different nuances on how to run such an organization.
Yeah. And you've mentioned there about you've mentioned there a couple of good, strong bosses. And often you can't choose your boss, but you can follow your boss and say, right, this is someone I want to work for, want to work with. If you're someone listening today, what is it you were looking out for from them? What were you thinking? Yeah, this is someone that I want to work with or continue my career underneath with. What were you looking for?
Yeah, I think being challenged, but also being supported.
What does being challenged mean to you then?
So being challenged, being put in situations that you may not have felt comfortable choosing to be in that situation yourself.
Yeah.
So having someone, a manager, a boss, a leader that has got the confidence in you that they will put you in a situation that you may not feel you've got the experience to be able to deal with. So that's the challenge, and the support coming from, they help you prepare for that challenge.
Yeah. So it's getting out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely. Getting out of your comfort zone. Yeah. And I think also having a leader that has the trust in you that you'll be able to, some people call it a gut feeling. Others call it, you've got some intuition. So you can work things out. So they trust that you'll work it out. There's guardrails around it. So you won't be in a situation where you'd be destroying value. You'd be in a situation to represent the organization and then learn from it, build from it, and then continue to build your confidence.
Yeah. And then you came back into Treasury. It dragged you back kicking and screaming in a good way.
Yeah.
What happened next?
Yeah, well, so the way I came back, I'd actually done an overseas assignment.
Yeah.
So my financial controlling experience gave me the opportunity to be head of financial planning and analysis at Vodafone Netherlands. And as part of my assignment there, I supported the CEO of Vodafone Netherlands to craft a merger business case with a company owned by Liberty Global called Ziggo.
Yeah.
So the last sort of 6 months of my assignment was doing this integration plan. And of course, signing that, it was a good time to come back to London. And Neil Garage, who was a treasurer, Vodafone at the time, he asked me to come and be part of the team, and it was a great opportunity to get back into Treasury. And there was a good alignment with the Dutch deal.
Yeah.
As one of my first activities back within the Treasury team was doing a recapitalization financing of the joint venture that had a high yield capital structure. Right. So it had more leverage. Vodafone was a strong investment grade company. The joint venture, a high yield capital structure. So that gave me a great opportunity to weave together what I knew about the company, but also learn lots of new technicalities and new skills about how you manage a company when it's got a purposefully high yield capital structure.
So you'd started in Treasury, gone out around the business, you come back into Treasury, but also during that period of time, Vodafone had changed quite a lot as a company in terms of size, dynamic, a lot of global, international, but then come back into itself. What was it like, or how had it changed, if you like, or evolved over that time?
Yeah, I think the other things to remember over that time, we'd also been through the global financial crisis. We'd been through the European sovereign debt crisis. So the macro environment had changed a lot as well. And the Vodafone Treasury team had navigated through all of that in exemplary fashion. The team had really maintained such robust guardrails around about how they operated, that they'd come through that really well. And it was even more important, the financial stability that the Treasury was providing for Vodafone as it was still pursuing a growth strategy. That growth needed to be funded and needed to be managed. And so the Treasury team was still, I guess, provided a platform for a business to pursue that strategy. And it also had a really strong commercial layer. I think, again, it was a privilege to be part of it, because Treasury, you can often need to be in a finance function, working with financial controllers, working with financial planning and analysis, and working with tax colleagues. The Vodafone Treasury team were working with sales and marketing colleagues, because working on price plans and propositions where customers were buying now devices for £1,000.
Yeah. And
Treasury was providing the capital and the liquidity to make Vodafone's propositions as attractive as possible.
Yeah.
So real working with the sales force and marketing teams, designing propositions, and then also work really integrated with the supply chain team. And so that, again, both ends, both at sales ends and procurement ends, the Treasury was integrated across both ends of the organization.
Yeah. And then what happened next? Or then the move after a number of years with Vodafone, it was time to...
Yeah, so before I moved on, I also combining my Treasury experience, my FP&A experience, my M&A experience, Vodafone, we decided to embark on a project to demerge some of our telecom infrastructure. So in telcos, we call it the mobile towers, the masts, passive infrastructure. It's steel, it's civil works, it's bits of concrete, it's cabinets. Yeah. And we Vodafone embarked on a project to separate these assets from operating companies across 10 European countries, and then merge these companies into a new group.
Yeah.
And IPO that business. It was called Vantage Towers, and IPO that business in Frankfurt in March 2021, which I'm sure listeners will remember. That was like peak COVID, the whole project.
Yeah.
So we IPO'd this 15 billion euro enterprise business. So, and I was the program director for creating that, and then working obviously with lots of colleagues and advisors to get it, legal advisors, financial advisors. So it's a huge project team to IPO it, and subsequently did debut bond financing, 2.1 billion euros the week after the IPO. And then having completed that project, there was an opportunity to transform the Treasury team at BT. So that was
you and I know BT's household name, but we got a lot of US listeners that go, who are BT? So give us a bit of an insight. I mean, I could probably do it, but you do better.
Yeah. BT, formerly known as British Telecommunications. It is the UK telecommunications backbone. It has been operating in telegraph and telephone over 125 years. So it is an institution. And currently, it's the UK's owns the UK's number one mobile company as well, called EE. So I was joining at the time that it was embarking on transforming the UK's fibre network. So in 2021, the BT division called Openreach probably passed about 4 million premises with fibre, and then embarked on a 25 billion capital investment programme to fiberise effectively the entirety of the UK.
Yeah, and it continues and it's growing.
Yeah, and continues with this one, and modernise the mobile network.
Yeah.
So this was a phenomenal investment that the company was making. And so the company was transforming. A great opportunity to come and transform the Treasury team as well.
And you came into the Treasury team, and then also you were creating a centre of excellence overseas as well. Or talk us through that time. You've walked in, and it's not business as usual. It's like business plus plus. Talk us through that.
Yeah, you're right, mate. There was, and it was still COVID as well.
No, this is what I was.
It was. Great. Yeah, we had plans to consolidate. The plan was to consolidate the middle and back office activities in, and it's a really important point, a BT-owned Centre of Excellence in Budapest. So it was about needing to build that team from scratch. Super important to get the senior leaders in Hungary and find the right people, and also being able to effectively manage the transfer of activities from London to Budapest.
Yeah.
Because the loyal, long-standing colleagues in London, I needed to get their engagement to be able to make sure that this transition would happen as effectively as possible.
So how did you do that, except for big bonuses? I'm joking.
Well, I guess, I think I've always there. I think I got lucky. You always plan for the best, and then you plan, and if you plan well enough, you get lucky.
Yeah,
I was able to recruit some great individuals in Budapest. Jokes aside, thanks to Diageo Treasury Centre, they had some super colleagues that were also looking for that. So sorry for that, Diageo, but they had some great colleagues that were then looking for their next challenge and wanted to be part of something, to be able to create something. So I got some quite play that joined the team.
Yeah, well, we did Eurofinance in Budapest just a few months ago, and I met a lot of the local Treasury talent there, and as you say, I was blown away. These guys were great. I'm like, can we move around? We'd like to. And I was like, send me your CV. I was just like, they've got great experience and an international experience as well, rather than just sometimes we've been to different venues. It's more local. These guys have got everything. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. Yeah.
And the career proposition that they got, it's not. So at BT, we were managing a debt book of 20 billion with commensurate cross-currency swaps, interest rate swaps, derivatives. So the guys there, they're managing the operational side of that and the valuation side of it, the accounting side of it, switch. And so when we're doing capital markets exercises, liability management, the guys, they're part of that.
Yeah.
So that was it was a really attractive career proposition. But for me, it was making the purpose and the outcomes really clear to get that team operationally excellent.
So take us through the next move to SSE. And I touched on them as a company, but I know that you can explain it much more because, again, a very exciting challenge and big expansion as well. Talk us through.
Yeah. So I guess on a number of SSE were looking for a new group treasurer to advise and help the company navigate through an amazing investment plan.
So who are they? Give us listeners.
So SSE, I think, as you mentioned at the start, Mike, we're what the industry calls an integrated energy utility.
Right.
There's three main divisions.
Yes.
Networks. So we own electricity networks in the north of Scotland and the south of England. One is called the transmission network, which is the big pylons carrying energy from where it's generated to where it needs to be consumed, and where it's delivered, the distribution network takes it from that point to the premises. So networks, regulated local monopolies. There is a renewables. So renewable generation. SSE owns Europe's largest wind farm called Doggerbank. We were awarded a contract just last week for part of what will become the world's biggest offshore wind farm called Berwickbank. That's a process that a project that's starting now. So the generation capacity of our offshore wind is crucial for the UK energy security and super important, the path to net zero.
Yeah.
And then we've got flexibility, which is we sell energy to businesses. We sell it to consumers in Ireland. So we've been present UK and Ireland, and we've still got gas-fired power stations. We need the flexibility. The energy security needs the flexibility that comes from gas-fired power stations. And then so we go to the investment case that they need. The UK and countries across Europe, we're going through, and it's a once in a generation investment in the electricity networks. For example, in the UK, we've got all this generation capability in the north of Scotland, but it's kind of stuck up there. So we need to build a transmission network that will modernize, and it will take the power from where it's generated to where it's needed.
Yeah. And
so in November 2025, we announced a new plan. It's called Transformation for Growth 2030, which is a £33 billion investment programme to then just to 2030. So effectively over 5 years. And that's the majority of it is to increase the capacity of the transmission network.
Yeah.
And why, as a treasurer, why would you need a new treasurer to help them on that? Because 35% of the investment is getting funded by an increase in our net debt and hybrid capital. So £15 billion pounds of the requirement will comes from an increase in debt.
Yeah. And what has been the biggest challenge, if you like? Your first 6 months in the role, what's been the greatest challenge or the hardest that you've encountered, and what has pleased you, if you like? How it won hearts and minds, sort of thing?
Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge was getting up to speed very quick, because the decision making on how the capital funding was going to happen, that had been, the train had left the station a long time ago. I hadn't quite got to the destination, but now the CFO and CEO were seeking my insight on how confident I would be on the ability to raise the capital, to raise the debt fund, to really underpin what's now a fully funded business plan.
And you're only just in the seat. You're like, right, okay.
Yeah. So a bit of pressure on, this is why we hired you, Andrew. We're expecting you to be able to tell us all of this straight away. So that was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And I think it was made relatively not straightforward, but the Treasury team, SSE, is super strong and super experienced. Yeah. And so for me, it was ensuring that my arrival would, I guess, did it so elegantly, with humility, engaged the team, and became a bit of a glue for the team as well, and help and elevate their decision making, their confidence, and just providing real clarity on the purpose, what our purpose is going to be, how we're going to support the business, how we're going to represent each other, values, and clarify and do it, honing up what outcomes we were looking for.
When you say you've got a strong team, is that they've got established relationships with the banks and relate around the business as well, or what's the standout bits for you?
Yeah. So in my leadership team, I've been with the business for a considerable number of years. So deep knowledge across the business, understand the heritage of the business, understand the strategic direction of the business, and have worked with a core number of relationship banks and partners for a number of years.
Yeah. And you're, as you say, the sort of the new person, if you like, newly in the seat. How did you talk about the clarity and setting their decisions? If someone's listening today and they've got the similar challenge, was it go out and win hearts and minds, or what process have you been through? Again, because you're relatively early in the role, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I think something on this about doing it in a purposeful, step-by-step, programmatic way.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that I did, and even before joining, meeting everyone one-on-one, the entire team. And then you've got a relatively short time to just make. You need to observe, you need to consider, I would recommend against jumping in with 2 feet. But one of my learnings from transitioning in the past was give everyone a voice and listen to it and try and co-create using technology as well, getting the guys that I think a couple of my senior, Ricky, George and Wesley, putting together a number of questions that you would ask, got a team to answer all these questions that would then feed into purpose, why we're doing stuff, how we're doing stuff, and how we're going to measure outcomes, and then bringing the team together in a workshop just to go through it and help them understand what they see as the purpose of Treasury, the purpose of their job, how they want to show up, what support they need, and put something together that everyone buys into.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to highlight something as well. Just before we started the call and stuff today, one of the things that really impressed me was I have my pick list of questions and some of the transformation and things, and I'll recommend this to other podcast guests. And Andrew sent me through this great background about the phases of your career, expanding your capability, delivering transformation. I was thinking, hang on, we've done a great document here, but it didn't. It came from you. But you, as you said, you've really worked on that as well. And I think that's something that other treasurers should think about, and other treasury professionals. Is that the way you think, or is that just something you've developed over time, or where's that come from?
Yeah, it's something I've developed over time. And I was looking through the other questions that you'd sent over in advance. There was the example questions. There was one in there about mistakes.
Yeah.
Have you made mistakes? And I've made more mistakes than I could care to imagine. So many mistakes, whether that be early stage career, misreading the financial markets, right? Sometimes misjudging investor sentiment when I'm issuing some bonds. Turning up to, I remember one time with Vittorio Colau, was the CEO of Vodafone, and I'm representing the M&A team, thinking I'll be there. There'll be a few decisions. More people more senior than me will be talking here in the room. First thing he says, Andrew, what should we do? I'm like, maybe, so that's a mistake. So I've made so many, so I just haven't done that and made mistakes. I just like to prepare and like to think things through. And if you write stuff down, you start thinking clearer and you put it together, and it just helps you. It helps you clarify why you want to do something, how you're going to do it, and it helps you communicate to others so that they can understand as well.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that example really reminds me of, I'd made mistakes a bit like that early on in my career, but then I was asked to do a presentation during COVID virtually, and I was meant to be co-presenting with another recruiter. And I thought, hope for the best, plan for the worst. Luckily, I planned for the worst. Because I thought, he's meant to be nice. He was nice on the calls and stuff. Got to the actual session. Oh, he pushed me under that bus. He was like, "Oh, you're the treasury expert. Over to you, Mike." I was thinking, that's not what we rehearsed.
Yeah.
But the lucky thing I would say is that literally where I'm sitting now was actually full of post-it notes and full of planning things. And I thought, just in case, what could go wrong? And luckily, and actually I came out of it looking rather good. I was pretty bloody brilliant but that was because I'd planned for it. As just as you've done, this is the way we've gone through the interview now, and it's just made my life a lot easier from everything here. So about strong foundations, expand your capability. This is I'm reading for Andrew's notes. So we're towards the end. Just we're not wrap up yet. Where do you see the biggest challenges? Obviously, you've got some challenges in your current role, lots of stuff coming along, which is great fun. But where do you see the challenges when you and I are hanging out at conferences? What are the things you think that other treasurers need to be thinking about?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of noise around. So if we think it's the treasury activities from a funding and risk management perspective, there's a lot of information.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise out there. So I think for a treasurer, it's being able to have a small group of advisors that can help them cut through the noise and help support, because ultimately the treasurer's decision recommend to the CFO of the board, depending on how the governance works. But it's being really prepared to be able to interpret what's happening from a macro perspective, and then making the appropriate recommendations for your company. So that's one of it. And then, of course, there's always evolving technology. And as we go through different business cycles, there's operational efficiency pressures that come across all functions.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a challenge for a treasurer to continually ensure that the organization understands got second order, third order of the value that a treasury creates. A treasury, I've got a massive bias, obviously. Like, yeah. Treasury is not a headcount thing. A treasury is all the value that sits within treasury. So you've got the finance expense, the funding cost. Every member of that treasury team is a commercial member of that team. So I think that's a treasurer's challenge, is to, with the businesses, if you're in a position where businesses are looking for efficiencies, is being able to deliver efficiencies that the company needs, but ensuring the company is protecting the values and the value that doesn't sit in overhead.
Yeah. Just as you say, you've done a lot of reflection, you've gone back through and very much planned. But if you look back over your career so far, but it continues, are there any roles in particular or any bits of advice? Again, if someone's listening today and they're going, oh, I'm being offered this FP&A role or something like that, any things that you think maybe turned the dial for you or that really helped you, sort of thing?
Yeah, think about what it means for the role after you've done that. Is it going to be complementary? Is it going to build new skills?
Yeah.
Is it going to give you new relationships? Is it going to enhance existing relationships? So there's a number of key factors, but also the job is like, think deep and hard about the leadership team.
Yeah.
Who your line manager? What are they like? What are their peers? If you can get to meet the peers, and what's the boss's boss like?
Yeah.
That for me is as important. Is probably more important. That character side of it is more important than some of the skills that you're potentially going to build.
And what are the missteps then that people need to avoid? You talked there about preparing and going into that meeting and stuff. Are there any ones that you think that stand out and go, right, actually, guys, you need to be, and maybe even you tell your team, guys, plan for this or watch out for this?
I think the missteps in careers can often be, I think we can all fall in, is sometimes taking a short-term view, taking the short-term view and maybe joining a company where your role may appear to be more senior, more impactful than potentially a more junior role in the company that you're with.
Yeah.
And that you need to take your risks in your career, but you need to be really confident that it will give you a platform, and the colleagues that you'll have will enhance your experience.
And you've had 2 decades in Treasury, over 3 decades in Treasury recruitment. So I know it's like a bit bonkers. But what keeps it interesting for you then? Is it because you've talked a lot about the capital market stuff? You talked about the people. What's the things that maybe come to the top? And again, you gave a great summary and some of the executive summary you sent across to me. But what are the things that stand out to you?
I think it's been at the heartbeat of the company, and being able to help people make more informed decisions, bring in insight so the decisions that are getting made are as informed as possible. That's number one. Number two, I take great fulfillment from building colleagues, building the capability of colleagues. I know we're going to wrap up short, but from the BT experience, having the build up, giving the colleagues the opportunity. And so when it was time for me to move on to the next step in my career path, Tesh Collier, he was able to step up to the Treasury Director role at BT. So for me, that's kind of just what keeps me going, just creating successful treasurers and successful colleagues, regardless of what discipline they're in.
And so we'll put your LinkedIn details in the show notes so we can connect to you. Any closing words from you, sir, from today?
No, I think to thank you for the platform. Thank you for the opportunity to share. Maybe there'll be a fellow treasurer or a treasury analyst, wherever anyone is in their career. It's a journey. It's a journey that you're on. Take the opportunities. I think it was something I've read recently. It said something along the lines of, you don't learn to swim by reading a book. So get yourself out there and get swimming.
Yeah, love it. And I love the swimming analogy anytime. So thank you very much, sir. Been great to catch up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thanks all.
Before you finish today's show, a quick reminder. You can earn CTP credits just by listening to the podcast. Listen to the show, take a short online quiz, pass the quiz, got to do that, and then we'll send you CTP credits. This means you can recertify, which I know you have to do every 2 years, and lots of people do it. It's so convenient. They do it whilst they're commuting. They might be at the gym, walking the dog. We're there to help you. It's designed to fit around you and your real Treasury jobs, not add more work to it. If you're already listening, you might as well get the credit for it. All you need to do, head to the episode page, take the quiz, and as I say, as long as you pass, we will send you the CTP credits. I know, it's all part of the service. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate your support. I'll see you soon.